Greetings, brothers and sisters. Salam alaikum. Happy to be here. And I am happy to be a witness for my Lord. Isn't that right? Be a witness. I'm glad to be in the service one more time. This is what the elderly people used to say in the days when we were happy, in the days in which our atmosphere was geared toward spirituality and our religion, geared toward the practice of righteousness. Isn't that right? So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be in the service. I'm glad to be in front of you. And so thankful to be able to represent Black nationalism with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and with the additive teachings of the National Baptist Convention, where we have brothers there. Church of God in Christ, we have brothers there. Anywhere where men and women are standing up for righteousness, they are our brothers. And Black people, one thing we got to understand is Black people. We got to understand that we're all together. There's no division, brothers and sisters, between us. There's no divisions. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't matter what your culture is. We bear witness that there's one God, and he's had many messengers. We bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger too. So that is something that should bring us together in the sense that we, being God people, the God race, are able to exhibit these religious forms of expression for our spiritual understanding, that we all bear witness that there's only one God. One God. And the message that was given to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was the best message, because it told us to clean up ourselves. That came from God. It was given to the Black man, whether he was Muslim, whether he was Christian, or whatever. It was given to him. There's no division. No division in us. And I have to continue to say this because there are brothers and sisters that teach that there's division. And in the light that they're teaching that there's division, then they don't have any understanding. They have no understanding of the true purpose of our Black leader, teacher, and guide, who tried to tried to explain to us what our jobs were. What our jobs were. He tried to explain it to us. And brothers and sisters, when this message came through, we had to have understanding to accept the message. And if we indeed accepted the message, then we would not be dealing with the things that we're dealing with today. Had we, in the time of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the time that we had him, had we heard him, had we gotten the message, heard the message, and accepted it, we wouldn't have destroyed the blueprint for our salvation. Wouldn't have been any destruction. Brothers and sisters, and I also want to say this. I put out these messages because it's a truth and knowledge that we have to deal with. The place that we're in today, what we experience, we have to deal with the why we are experiencing these things, what put us in the condition that we're in today. These are things that we have to deal with. We don't want to deal with it, but we don't have a choice but to deal with it. Because in dealing with it, then we face the best and worst in ourselves, and it teaches us how to fix or how to decrease the handicaps that are stopping us from being 100% us and being 100% powerful and being able to wield that power to change our conditions, our situation, to be able to will it spiritually, physically, religiously, socially, psychologically, mentally, biologically, physiologically, and otherwise. You and I have the power to fix our situation. Brothers and sisters, don't forget that we could certainly appreciate and need your help through Cash App. And there are books that we're trying to sell. We're trying to sell at least 10 books because the time has come again for us to meet those demands, to be able to be where we are and to fulfill the job that God has given us. God has given us this job. God has given you the job. He's given me the job to be able to educate the people. So when we teach, brothers and sisters, we're teaching together. Anytime that you and I teach, we're teaching together. And even if I'm teaching, I can't teach if there's no reception. So one plant, one water, but to God is giving the increase. And I'm sure you would agree that there are many messages out there, many messages, but we know that the only message that will help us come directly from God. That message will help us, and that message was given to the messenger. The messenger with the strongest message of how we can endure, right? And it was the same message that was given to the slaves, given to the Africans that were under the oppression of the white race. And as this message came down, brothers and sisters, all black believers, whether they were Christian and Muslim or black nationalists of other faith, they were teaching this same global message, the message that God gave to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? That we have to do for self. The slaves, before Mr. Muhammad was even born, had the same message given to them from God. Nat Turner said that God had sent him to fight against the system of racism, to fight against the system of superiority, to fight against the white man who was pushing this system of a slave narrative of black people as inferior people, right? God told Nat Turner to go and kill the white man. From his own words, this is what he says, that God told him that through the angel Gabriel. So brothers and sisters, we have to seriously consider these things. John Brown, a white man, you can't deny that, had said that God told him to kill all of those who were funding slavery, who was funding oppression, the slave owners, right, to fight against them. John Brown, this is a white man. He couldn't have received that word from the devil. He had to receive it from God. God appealed and used him as a tool to fight against the other devils that were promoting slavery. So God took one of their own and used him to fight against those devils, right? Took one of the white man's own seed to teach and to reject slavery. And you had financiers that were whites from their own seed that repudiated the same thing, repudiated slavery, repudiated oppression. Now, with that being said, brothers and sisters, the National Baptist Convention under E.C. Morris received the same message that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad received. Did he carry it out the way that God said? No, he didn't. Because he built up black business. He built up a massive religious organization, but in his politics, he partook with the white man. So he sinned against God by going with the white man. The word says, come out from among them, O ye my people. Isn't that right? And when this is how Dr. E.C. Morris had failed, he began to trust in the white man, trust in the foundation of the white man, and to follow the teachings of the white man and his administration. And that caused a failure. You can never integrate with your enemy or your owner. You can never integrate with the man that owns the slave plantation. He didn't come out, and we know the result of that, right? The Elaine race riot and many other things became the result of this kind of mealy mouth message of unity and integration with a devil that is causing you oppression. You can't do that. The message that God had was to come out from among them, O ye my people. That was the message of God. So brothers and sisters, then the message came down to the Pentecostal movement, Charles E. Mason. The message came down, the same message. They were preaching the message. We've got to get out. We've got to come out from among them. And spiritually, they come out from among all and have become a representation. But socially, they integrated with the white man, which caused the destruction of the Church of God in Christ movement. If you look, now they're pushing homosexuality, and there are ministers coming forth speaking homosexuality. There are victims coming forth now out of there speaking homosexuality. Same thing happened to the Garveyite movement. When you are talking about black nationalism, you had your finger on the very answer that you needed, but you would have to come out from among the white man. Now, Marcus Garvey, what did he do? What did he do? He kept everything to every jot and tittle, right? He followed it until he began to trust the white man toward his financial situation. You see, he was banking his money in their banks, right? He was beholden to their tax system. Is that right? Right or wrong? So what began to happen, brothers and sisters? No form of shared wealth, no form of commonwealth controlled, operated, and owned by black people. So what happened? The destruction of the Garveyite movement. Because at some point he had to begin to trust a particular white man or one of the investors, where he began to let them know his entire operation. They got him for tax evasion. They got him for malfeasance, all these other things, these strong political sounding words. So we get to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Muhammad is teaching, come out from among them. And he doesn't waver in this. He doesn't waver in this. And this is why his teaching lasts long. Now, there are those that are trying to interrupt Mr. Muhammad's teaching. There are those that are trying to interrupt it. But you and I both know that the best teaching that we can have concerning black people doing something for themselves is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so, brothers and sisters, we're going to take our time today, and we're certainly going to talk about this, and we're going to wait as brothers and sisters decide to come join us. Because we have a great message today, and anytime we're talking about independence, we can't help but to talk about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We can't help, because he is the best example, and the best sample of independence in our midst and in our teaching. So we have to touch on it. We have to talk about it. We have no alternative than to talk about the goodness of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he taught. And we'll talk about all the other black leaders too that have the same message. As we can see, all of those that go against the message that God has given to come out from among them, O ye my people, come out from among the white men. Everybody that disobeys this edict, disobeys this law, disobeys the commandment of God, ends up failing. Now we see the same thing, brothers and sisters, in the Nation of Islam as it relates to Minister Farrakhan. In Farrakhan's Nation of Islam, we've got other than black in there. And that's a danger. So you will see when Farrakhan passes, and he is going to pass, brothers and sisters, that is happening. It has already started. You're going to have destruction there, a great falling away, and a fight for power. It's going to be a strong fight for power. And these things are about to happen. The same way England is fighting for power. When O'Malley Yeshiteli passes, he's going to pass. God's going to do it. You'll begin to see the dissipation of that movement. It's going to happen. And I'm so thankful to God that we can see the truth. We can see the truth. No one's telling you anything except but the word of God. That's it. His word is the only word that will stand. The word of God, his word is the only word that will stand. His word. Am I speaking racism? Of course not. Am I speaking sexism? Of course not. Am I being religious? I'm not being religious, but I'm being spiritual in the sense that I know that only God can deliver us from this problem and situation that we're in. And what I decide to do in my personal life, and what you decide to do in your personal life, is your business. When you begin to teach the people concerning the spiritual guidance of God and the message of God, then you can't deviate from this one jot or one tittle. So, brother and sister, this is going to be a serious message. More serious than any other message that we ever talked about, because we're talking about the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And right now today, brothers and sisters, there are Muslims that are angry with the brother, because I know that, and I've said it on several occasions, that there's a great deviation of Muslims in the Farrakhan movement. It's a great deviation. And they don't know any better, so you can't get upset. And when you don't know any better, it's almost like a child. When you're giving them candy, you know the dangers of the candy. The child doesn't know. And you know that if you keep giving it to him, that you'll compromise his health, compromise his teeth, compromise his system, his health system within the body. But to give him a little candy and to hold it back, no matter how much the child complains or cry, you know that you're doing the best for them. And in doing this, I'm teaching spiritual health. There are brothers and sisters that don't understand that my heart and my mind is in the right place. And if I be wrong, then Allah will be my judge if I be wrong. But if my heart and my mind is in the right place, I pray to God that this intention that I have to save the black people, save the black race from utter destruction, followed by integration, I pray that God would teach them my intentions, and I pray that they will be able to see it, accept it, and build themselves up. Build themselves up. And to follow the teaching of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because it strengthens black nationalism. That's my desire and my prayer, that our people will see my intentions and feel my intentions and see God and go to God, right? Because the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught you to go to God. And if you're Christian, Dr. E.C. Morris and or Charles E. Mason and the other major leaders have taught you as well. Garveyites, you know the same thing. How to go to God and ask God for strength and ask him to impute his word and his desire in my mouth. So that his word won't go out and come back void, and we know that it won't, because that's the word. The word says it. That God said in the word that my word should not go out and come back void. Right? It's my duty to put the word out. And it has to be the word of God to tell us to not integrate with the white man, because every time we integrate with him, we end up in a worse situation than we are now. And the white man is still killing us. He's been killing us ever since we came to this country, ever since he came to Africa, ever since he first visited Africa in the Carthage War, in the Carthage War. And so we've experienced nothing but harm under this man. This taskmaster is evil. And it's just not right for a man to lord, rule, and oppression over another man. And let it be said. Let this be said, brothers and sisters. And you and I should not be able to rest anytime somebody is teaching the philosophy of racism, the philosophy of eugenics, this philosophy of the Enlightenment, which is an organization and a system that goes against you and I. It's not for us, brothers and sisters, but it goes against us. And our job is to speak against all evil and all manifestation of evil, and to resist evil, flee from it, so that we'll be found standing in the place of righteousness. That's God's command for you and I. So, brothers and sisters, we have to keep this understanding, because it'll be this understanding that will help us. This understanding will help us. Brothers and sisters, don't forget, you can support us by buying a book. We need to sell 10 books this month, and I pray that at least 3 people tonight can at least buy 3 books. We can get 3 books sold tonight. That's my desire and my prayer. Any book of your choice. any book of your choice, and you'll be able to buy it and support our movement. Our movement feed children whose parents are on drugs, who are selling their food stamps, who don't have jobs, and the children need food to eat. So we have to be able to supply them. We see people free in mental health, brothers and sisters. And so I want you to know that every dollar that you give goes to the right place. And we need your support to keep doing that work, because pretty soon we've got winter coming, and we got a little time to prepare. But there's a building that we're trying to get, and I intend to walk through that building with you one day to show you about this building that we're trying to get. And this building will be able to provide shelter. It's a larger building, and much larger than the clinic we have here, and is able to provide shelter for the brothers and sisters and children that don't have a place to stay in the wintertime. So this building will provide shelter, food, clothing, and education for brothers and sisters that are on the street. The wintertime is coming, brothers and sisters, and we need to have a place for our people. We've got to have a place for our people. And it's time out for us to be talking. We've got to be found doing. We have to be found doing. So that's where your money goes. We want to let you know we're very transparent in it. And you know, I'm thankful to you, because anytime that I've ever needed anything, you've always been there for me. And I thank you. I thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting Sister Joanna on a personal level. But we certainly on a organizational level, we certainly need this building, because it will give people shelter. And the wintertime is coming. And the worst thing to see is the homeless black brothers and sisters, especially veterans, and people that have sacrificed for us, our elderly, and all of our brothers and sisters out in the cold, and many of them dying on the streets in the cold, because nobody is giving them any shelter. They give them food, but they leave them walking out. And see, this is also the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And this is also the message that God gave to the black man. He gave it not just to the Nation of Islam, but he gave it to the Baptist churches, gave it to the international faith of black people, gave it to the Mauricelm Templars of America, gave it to the Church of God in Christ, gave it to the Baptist believers, gave it to the Pentecostal movement. Isn't that right? All black people, no matter where you are, what your faith is, where you're located, God has given you a word to take care of your own, to do for self. And brothers and sisters, if we would do for self, our situation would be much different than it is now. And so God has called us out. God has done that, called us out to be able to do his perfect work. We're not doing our own. It's not about us, but it's about God. It's about his perfect work. And brothers and sisters, I'll continue to stand up and continue to fight for it. Now, when you're doing the work of God, I want you to understand that you'll have brothers and sisters that are fighting against you. They may ridicule what you're doing. They don't have any program of their own. And if they do have a program, then instead of joining with you, merging those programs to make it a better program for our people that are suffering, they're around talking about each other. And I just want to say that that's not the work nor will of God. It's certainly not the message that was given by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, nor the other leaders that God has given the message to save the black man, because their message and their knowledge is to do for self and have a do for self mentality, and to serve, be ready to serve mankind. We said mankind, right? Right? Be ready. In other words, we got to get out from among them. We got to get out from among them, right? In order to serve them, we got to serve them true. We have to openly rebuke them. Isn't that right? And we have to, in many cases, defend ourselves against them and against their occupying forces of racist mobs who are killing our people. Isn't that right? I want to give you some good understanding. Good understanding. We've got to protect humans and humankind and man. But mankind, we've got to serve, right, the power and the judgment of God upon them, right, for the evil that they're doing against our people. Now, you have to admit that the white man is evil. The stuff that he's doing. Somebody's saying right now, they're saying, well, brother, all white people aren't evil. That may be true. I can't debate that. And you do have some blacks that are living among white that look like white people. But I'll say this. If you had a million bees, a billion bees, and I got on a bee outfit and I tell you, brother, you ain't got to worry about those bees because I learned that there's a million bees inside of those billion bees that may not have stingers, right? You'll be out of your mind, waste your time around there, being stung by a billion bees just to see if the bees on the inside don't have stingers, right? It's safer to treat them all like bees. Isn't that right? And it's safer to treat them that way, and you'll be more safe in a longer life treating them all the same. It's just the same way of having snakes in a snake pit. And a man outside the snake pit told you those snakes in the middle are not poisonous, so you should be able to lay down and get some sleep. Don't worry about them biting you because they're not poisonous. And he's saying that, remember, the man giving you that instruction is outside of the pit. And he's trying to give you instruction about your situation while you're inside a den of snakes, right? The best way for you to survive is to treat all of them as poisonous and to get the hell up out of the pit. And that's how I feel about the white man invading any movement. He doesn't know how it is to be black. Black people, we've suffered and continue to suffer hard and long. The white man don't know anything about it because it's his people and him that is putting us in this suffering. That has us in this awesome suffering. Him and his people have that. They're the ones that have done that, not us, not we ourselves. And this is very important, brothers and sisters. We have to remember this. Because if you don't remember it, you finish. You see, all of those that give in to the system and look away from what God is telling you in your face ends up dead. End up dead trusting the white man. You see, and you die without power. Why? Because you trusted the system. You have to understand that what I'm teaching now, what I'm talking about has nothing to do with hate. This is love talk. This is love talk. I love the black race, so I say these things. That we have to get back to structure. My sister, brothers and sisters, and I was talking just a couple of nights ago, or just last night. And we started talking about the deviation that the religious organizations have taken, how they're deviating. How now there was a time when people would come into the church and they would be dressed a certain way in the Christian church. When they came to the temple, they would be dressed a certain way. Even if they were visiting, they would still be dressed a certain way. And if you look now, opposed to the past, people will wear anything and come inside of the religious temples anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They will come in without conviction, any kind of lifestyle. There's no standard set in religious organizations, not like it was yesterday. There's evidence that there was standard there, but there's no real standard in the religious organizations of today as there was yesterday. And see, we're failing as a people, even in our religious institutions, because we are not instituting the structure that was set there to deliver and save the lives of all of those who are visiting, asking the question, what must I do to be saved? Isn't that right? I'm not only talking about this for the Baptist churches. I'm not only talking about this for the Church of God in Christ. Not only talking about this for the Nation of Islam, but I'm talking about it on a grand scale. Wherever there's black people, the respect that we had for God, the respect that we had for religion has been U-hauled, right? And overhauled. And we are left with the shell of a structure. You can tell that there's structure there, but as far as us exercising it, we failed to do it. And so, brothers and sisters, we've got to get back to the message of Mr. Muhammad. We've got to get back to his message. What is the core message in the teachings of the messenger? The core message in the teachings is that we will first come out from among them. That's the first thing. What does that mean? In our mind and in our heart, to have understanding that we can never get any justice, fair treatment, can never make any gains, can never get any liberation, equality, civil rights, human rights, never get any true teaching, never get any fair play with or under the oppressor. You and I, brothers and sisters, you and I were brought here as slaves. Got to be clear about that. Have to be clear about it. Brought here as slaves. Now, the fact that we were brought here as slaves, our job through the labor union, the labor force, slavery, was to produce agriculture, produce inventions, produce carpentry, produce buildings, to produce mechanizations, to produce administration, to produce organization, right? To organize the stores, to organize the white man's hospital, to give him the secret of medicine, and all of that. All of those things is our job. This is what God has called us to do. God has called us to do this. And in the light that God has called us to do these things, right, for ourselves, we were not able to do it for ourselves in bondage because we allowed a man to come in, right, manipulate us, trick us, so that we couldn't produce for God or produce for our kind or produce for creation, right, what God would want us to produce. And it happened because we walked away from what was common to us and started to observe and worship foreign gods who were created by an enemy for the destruction of us. And I want to be plain about that. Our work, our job, every invention, our ethics, everything that was used in slavery was used to perpetuate and to build up the white system, to perpetuate and build up the white organization on his terms, to build it up, to support eugenics, to support slavery, to support all of these things, to support all of it. And so, brothers and sisters, instead of avoiding or fleeing from this devil or running him out of Africa, he ended up coming to Africa and running us around Africa, running us out of Africa, pushing us through the diaspora, pushing us in slavery camps in America, in South America, in Haiti, in India, all of these places, right, where the darker skinned people are. And he went there to lord over us. The minute he learned what our religion was and distorted it, right? He learned what it was and distorted it from us. Then he was able to manipulate us. When the word of God had told us in the Old Testament and the New, come out from among them, O ye my people. Right? And in plain, God gave that message to every religious black leader that has come before us. And that's what we're concerned about. We're concerned about black leaders. We're not concerned about any other leaders, right? Because the message is to the black man. This message is to the black man. And the minute that this message got into the head, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he begins to put it out to the black man. And this single message being put out to the black man rebuild the infrastructure that others have been building before. For instance, the slaves that came out of the emancipation, they become a part of the white government, which was not God's desire, that was their desire, right? And the manipulation of the white man, this was his desire. The reconstruction of the Old South gave another kickstart to a system of slavery called sharecropping. But those that had nothing to do with the government, those that didn't trust in the government, went aside to set up cities. Nicodemus, Kansas is one of those cities. Cumberland in Alabama is one of those cities. Woodard, West Helena, Marianna, in Arkansas, just a few of those cities. Elaine, in Arkansas, Lakeview, a few of those cities that were set up by black people. Cities that produced good things, independence, independent financial situation, independent social situation, its own system of welfare for its own people. These things produce that. And brothers and sisters, it can still happen today. It can still happen today if we're willing. If we're willing, it can still happen today. And what you and I have to understand, brothers and sisters, is that it can happen and will happen if we will turn our attention back toward God. Isn't that right? There's a scripture in the Old Testament that says, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my faith, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and heal their land. Well, brothers and sisters, the thing that we haven't done is put our attention on God. We haven't put our attention on the God of our ancestors. Isn't that right? We put our attention on a white God, which is nothing more than a symbol of oppression. Isn't that right? But we have to put our attention on our God, the God of our ancestors. And we've got to be concentrating on what it is in this day and time, what it is that we should be doing. And we have to revisit the place of our foundation, the place of our culture, the place of our salvation. When you talk about the African spiritual system, brothers and sisters, because this is very, very important, the African spiritual system is an in-depth look into who we are, our form of expression, and why we had these forms of its expression, brothers and sisters. And this is very important. Things that we have to rekindle within ourselves. The blueprint is there. The blueprint is there. And every day we're reminded that we're black. Every day we're reminded of it. But we've got to get into the habit of researching the God of our fathers, right? We've got to research the African more ways, right? We've got to research that. What the spirituality of our ancestors. You and I, brothers and sisters, have to research that to get some understanding of who we are. We can't research it on the level of the white people, but we have to study the traditional African religions as it relates to black people, and we've got to be able to tie that religion to our faith that we have here today, to our experiences that we have here today. And that's the thing that I'm most happy about, because in this traditional learning, this traditional teaching, with the knowledge that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives to us, then we're able to have that with the knowledge that we receive with all other denominations under the same universal spiritual system, because we bear witness there's only one God, and Muhammad is his messenger, and he's had other messengers, but Muhammad is his messenger as well. The minute that we connect the dots, so to speak, on our ethnic religions, then we'll receive the power, the spiritual power of our ancestors to imbue us with strength to stand in these last and evil days. Brothers and sisters, in the book of Revelation, it talked about in the last days, John saw a number that was stagnant. It was only 144,000 people. There was a great falling away of the church, so much so that you could see it. It was visible down to the very number, right? When you go somewhere, you don't see much participation inside of the religious institution, because there's been a great falling away. We've fallen away because we've been listening to the white man. We've been serving his God. We've been doing his will. We've been attending his religion, the religion of the white man. Now, we know Christianity comes from the African spiritual system. I understand that. We understand that it is in one with Islam, which means total submission unto God. And that's what Christ was in, brothers and sisters. He was in total submission unto God. And he told us to go and do thou likewise. He said, be ye holy, for I'm holy, right? Practice what I'm doing, right? Because you are my brothers. Isn't that right? So what we have to do, brothers and sisters, we have to have the traditional belief and practices of African people, which are highly diverse in the belief system is highly diverse because there are levels of knowledge and intelligence. But these systems work together to include a various ethnic religious study. And when you think of Jesus, who is an African Christ, at 12 years of age, he's inside of Kemet, which we call Egypt today, and he's teaching in the temples at Kemet. He's teaching the lawyers of that day, the professors of that day, the religious leaders of that day. He's teaching them at 12 years of age to acknowledge and admonish the law that comes from God. And if you've done your research, you'll find out that this is true. And brothers and sisters, we're talking somewhere around, he's 12 years of age at that time. He's born between 4 and 6 BC. So he would have been, the time period would have been somewhere between 6 and 10, or rather 6 and 4 AD. If I can use those acronyms as it relates to the time period. Brothers and sisters, these general beliefs and traditions of our spiritual system in Africa were oral rather than scriptural, because they were written in our hearts. It was passed down from one generation to the other, right? We were superior in song. We were superior in festival. We were superior in tales. And so that's what our songs do. We have the power to deliver messages through our song, because the spirit that we have inside of us, the spirit of God, right, actualize and actuate the ability that we have to pass a message through song. That is a superior thing. We didn't have to write it down. Only had to put it in a song and learn the song in order to get the teaching, right, of the message that God has sent us. And learn it in a song to be able to plant. Learn it in a song to be able to reap, to build. Isn't that right? Whatever we had to do, God had in our spiritual system, had a place in our song, and the mathematics of that was a regulation for our brains, the brain of superior people, to have the knowledge of what God requests of us as his holy people. And we have to get back to that, because paper and pencil is primitive, pads are primitive, right, brothers and sisters? We've got to get back to the place where we're able to actualize within ourselves discernment and strong emphatic power, and be able to pass as empath this knowledge, this power, the spirit in conversations when our lips are not afforded the opportunity to give certain warnings. And God, in those times, are stronger in us than it is when we're able to oratate or give physical warnings. And I'll prove that to you. This discernment, this teaching, this emphatic knowledge that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had, that came from Master Fard Muhammad, this knowledge, brothers and sisters, was passed down to us in several ways. But the thing that I like about it the most is that when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was speaking in those days, and even you can see this and witness this, even on the film or YouTube or whatever, what have you, that you can feel what he's saying and bear witness to the truth of what he's saying. And I say that, and that's from a physical translation and transport of the knowledge and words from us physically. In Africa, we're told, and with the teachings, we're told that there were times that we could be together and wouldn't have to say one word, but we could pass a message through our eyes and our mind from one person to another. And that person would be able to receive it and move on that message. This is an angelic power, right? This is an angelic power of empaths, and a lot of black empaths. The older people, even your mother, if you remember back in the day, Your mother, your father could give you a look, and you would understand exactly what they meant from that look. They could give you a feeling, not even touch you, right? And could be sharpening you. Iron sharpen iron. Could sharpen you with that look, right? Could sharpen you with that message, right? Could sharpen you with that body movement, right? With the fixing of the lips, right? Isn't that right? The flaring of the nostrils. And so, brothers and sisters, we haven't lost the power, right? But we've got to learn how to actualize the power in the right way. Our ancestors who had less European teaching than us were more in tune with their African gifts, and they could pass this on. So, brothers and sisters, just remember, generally these traditions are oral rather than scriptural. But the truth was written on our hearts. Isn't that what the word says? Right? And that we will have the truth written in our hearts. And we are the direct descendants of God. And we have the truth written on our hearts. So when God speaks, right, we will hear him. Because it says that my sheep knows the sound of my voice. This spirituality was passed down from one generation to another when we were in Africa. As I said before, through folk tales, through songs, through festival. And brothers and sisters, it had to include a belief in the amount of a higher, right, power, and then a lower power. Now, we will call gods. Excuse me. We will call gods, right? Ye are what? Little gods, right? And we have the universal God and the Godhead, but we also will call gods because he made us in his image and his likeness. Who did he make in his image and his likeness? He made the human. He made the humankind. He made man in his image and his likeness. Who are we talking about? Us. Right? Because we're not talking about a God that you couldn't see. We're talking about the first representation or the first blueprint of us to ever come about, who would name every object that we see today and know by name. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about that God, that black God, talking about him. And he was the ultimate God, right? The ultimate representation of life, because he was the first to be created and the first to exercise the power, you understand, that we are exercising today. And the only difference is that he exercised it with full knowledge. And we could have knowledge, right? Because Jesus said, ye are my brothers, right? Jesus came from and in the lineage of that God, of black Christ. And he said, ye are my brothers, and what I have done, ye shall do greater things. So brothers and sisters, that is, we know that the power is God. Jesus himself was not God. He said, I and my Father are one, in that I do the will of my Father, but I am a representation of my Father, because if you've seen me, you have seen the Father. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? So including this belief in amount of higher and lower gods, right? And sometimes including a supreme creator of force, belief in the spirit of a universal God, the veneration of the dead. Isn't that right? Well, what do we mean when we say the veneration of the dead, brothers and sisters? What we mean is it includes one's ancestors, is based on love and respect for the deceased. That's the first thing. And then in our culture, it is related to the belief that the dead had to continue existence. That comes from Africa's doctrine. That comes from a universal African belief that isn't the end. It's a continuation of life. And it may possess the ability to influence the fortune of the living. In other words, if we'll remember the teachings of what our ancestors said in front of us, then we're able to carry on the traditions, build on those traditions, and create a better situation for our brothers and sisters that are here, right, to actualize those teachings, mean to fulfill the prophecy of what was given to our ancestors, right? And that sounds very familiar, doesn't it, brothers and sisters? To learn about spirituality and the powers that we are blessed with. The white man calls it magic. But, and that's because he's primitive. He's primitive in his belief. Primitive. But This power that we have is an applicational belief in our ritual system as Africans. Our actions as Africans employ the belief that we can manipulate, right? And we can control, and we can our natural and we can control supernatural forces, send them to do the will of God and bring them back. When we call on God to send his angels to do something for us, to perfect a certain work, or to send a warning, this is what we're doing. But we've got to get in the mind that we're calling him as his relation. God will answer his children. He will answer his children. What father wouldn't give his son bread? Right? Isn't that right? This is an example in one of the parables of Jesus, that asking it shall be given, seeking ye shall find, knocking the door shall be open. He's not talking to the enemy. He's talking to his brothers. Who are his brothers? We are his brothers. We are his sisters. All of us that will do the will of God, right? And you can find no more religious, convicted, and dedicated people than the black people of this planet. And the black people of this planet have the blueprint is all the same. We have love, we have acceptance for anyone. We will take anyone in to a fault, and we'll talk about that. This category of power has been placed in a various belief system among Africans. You may find it in some places even called voodoo. Brothers and sisters, there's no part of the African system that's bad. But the white man will give it a bad connotation to anything he doesn't understand. He's been doing it since the beginning of time. And so if the white man says to me that the African witchcraft, the African witch doctor, the voodoo priest, and he's rejected him, that's somebody that I want to see. Why would I want to see somebody the white man rejects? Because whatever he rejects is good for me, and whatever he's for is bad for me. And I've seen that all down through history. He's for slavery. Slavery is good for the white man. But you can see, as you can see, slavery is bad for the black man. So that's a prime example, and it's common sense. Our traditional African medicines, brothers and sisters, our traditional African medicines was a range of traditional medical disciplines, brothers and sisters, that we're not using anymore. These disciplines involve indigenous herbalism, African spirituality. That's right. That's right. And that's why we're talking about the spirit. Because you have to understand there's a big difference in what you're doing today and what you understand today than what you're used to. We have no connection today with our past, none whatsoever. We've been blocked from any knowledge of who we are, who we were as a people before we were invaded by the His Coast, before they invaded Egypt. The true name is Kemet. Before they invaded Sudan, before they invaded Cyrene, before they invaded Carthage, which is present-day Libya, before they invaded Malta, which is a portal into Africa from the European caves, before they invaded it, before they became a part of us, before they began to integrate and intermate with us, who were we as a people? Before they distorted who we are, before they distorted who we were we as a people? Brothers and sisters, our traditional medicine is a range of traditional medicinal knowledge and disciplines. It involves herbalism. It involves African spirituality. African spirituality is something to do with us. For us to be able to call in our memory system to recall the correct adaptation of any spiritual or physical medicine to handle certain spiritual and physical ailments felt within our bodies. This knowledge was given for us. It wasn't given for the enemy, you see, but it was given for us to embrace and to build up our people and to treat our people in the difficult times that we would find ourselves in, or whether it be in Africa, whether it be in Asia, or wherever we are. But more so, it would have been a more benefits, and has been a more benefit when we were in bondage under the white man, physical bondage. We're still in physical bondage under him, but it's no longer chains around our wrists, chains around our ankle, no more chains around our necks on a daily basis. But he's built a prison system and built a system of oppression that will keep us down. And there are visible chains and physical chains as a result of that to keep his system going. I told you before, the white man needs us for his system. And this is the reason why we got to come out from among him, because we are God and we have the power of God to destroy that system if we stop contributing to the system. We've got to stop contributing to that system. So brothers and sisters, typically it included diviners and divine people, magi's. It included midwives, which are also called doulas. We want to use the term doulas because midwife is a European term and it takes away from it. It takes away from it. When we say doulas, these are holy people who are there to help catch the baby and turn the baby immediately as it's born to its mother, so that the mother is the first face that baby sees. The first face. The baby's not taken away from the mother like they do in the hospitals, brothers and sisters, which disturb the social and religious and cultural status of the baby. No, that African doula catches that baby, because that's what you and I are. We're African, just like our ancestors. And they catch that baby and turn that baby to the mother quickly and put it on the mother, brothers and sisters, so they will know. And the practitioners of traditional African medicine are able to cure a variety of diverse conditions that are not they're not able to cure here in America, because they don't have the knowledge, the supreme knowledge that God has given us. Now, I want you to understand the outside regions describe the African culture as animalistic. And I'm going to tell you why. You already know why. You're under a system of oppression. The white man created the system of oppression. He created the system of eugenics, which is a false system of white superiority, right? They call black people animals and monkeys, right? So most religions, right, that are not white are described as evil by the white man, who is what? The oppressor in what? The Western global power structure, right? Right? Because oppression and slavery is a global problem, right? And so potentially, brothers and sisters, potentially, if we would actualize just getting away from the white man and concentrating on our history before slavery and amid slavery and after slavery, we will connect ourselves to Africa, connect ourselves to our spiritual powers. And this is what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was trying to say, that we have to come out from among them and what they're teaching, this teaching they have, this bad religious teaching that they have, this system of oppression that keeps us, our religion, in bondage, keeps our religion away from us. Come out from among them, O ye my people, right? Come out from among them. Who? The enemy, the white man who is oppressing us. Come out from among them, right? And come unto me, all ye that are labored and heavy laden, and I will give ye rest. Take my yoke upon you. What is it? What yoke? Learn the nature of your forefathers. Learn the history of your forefathers. Learn who you are as a people. Come out of bondage. Come out of the tomb, Lazarus. Take my yoke upon you. What yoke? Who you are. Learn about yourself. Learn of me. Who? The one who is the example of you, who is the example of the power of God manifest in flesh. That was the purpose of Yahushua Aliyah Asa, or the one you call Jesus, to be a representation of God. Who is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? He is a representation of Master Fard Muhammad, who has the message of God. Who is any Muslim that is teaching the teaching of the message of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a representation of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And there's normally a national representative of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When you look at Minister Farrakhan and you look at Most Honorable Silas Muhammad, these are supposed to be a representation of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in their different perspectives. And brothers and sisters, we have to understand that. And in their representation, we expect them to stand up and to live lives that are circumspect, lives that are right and exact in the teachings and under the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so we have to understand that. And I want you to understand, brothers and sisters, that we have a ways to go in this teaching and this understanding. We have a ways to go. We say peace and greetings unto Black Thoughts. We see that he's still heckling the show. It's wonderful to see that he's well. And we welcome his comments. We won't move them. But brothers and sisters, what I want you to understand is that we have to get back to the structure that will make us superior as a people here in this country and make us superior as a people globally around the world. If you look, God is with the black man, because no matter what situation he's in, no matter where he goes, even in the entertainment field, whether it be medicine, whether it be arts, no matter what it is, we see that God has given us a gift. God gave it to us. Nobody else gave it to us. Only God. God has given us a gift, and we have a gift to be able to relay messages through our arts, through who we are as a people. And that is the reason why it's important that we relay the right message. We can't allow, brothers and sisters, Beyonce to keep relaying messages of whoredom, right? And prostitution of our young girls. It's a shame to see her at the age that she is now, to be walking around naked and wearing the things that she's wearing. Now she has young girls, Chloe and Bailey, that are very talented girls that knew nothing about that, now have been exploited by the entertainment industry, sexually and otherwise, have been exploited, and they're dressing in that exploitation, right, to make money. So they're prostituting themselves in order to make money. This is not the teaching of African spirituality nor respect. But this kind of teaching is a teaching toward destruction. Anytime it is a blueprint of the white man. Anytime you've seen the white people in any shape and form that are not religiously led, you've seen them exposing themselves sexually and otherwise in other forms to degrade their nature. And they do it because they are heathen people, right? They come out of the caves of Europe. They have yet to be civilized. None of the prophets could do it, from Adam to Moses. From Moses to Jesus, none of the prophets were able to do it because they wouldn't listen to the prophets. They wouldn't listen to them, brothers and sisters. And if they can't do it, we couldn't do it. There's no such thing as the white man being atoned. Farrakhan was out of his league trying to atone the white man. You'll never atone the white man. It'll never happen, because this is a heathen race that would follow their own will, follow their own desires. Who desires? Their own will, their own desires, right? And their desires are leading the world to destruction. And brothers and sisters, you and I will be foolish to follow this man. We will be foolish to follow this man. And he's leading us to destruction. Everywhere you turn, you see him leading us to destruction. And all we have to do is turn away, come out from among those people, set our eyes on the hill from which cometh our help, and God will heal our land, right? If my people who are called by my name, who? My people, would humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and heal their land. Who will heal their land? God will. The God of our fathers, the God of our forefathers, the God of our ancestors will heal our land. And so, brothers and sisters, we have much to learn as it relates to the teaching of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we're finding every day, if you're studying that teaching, don't forget to thumbs up, like, and subscribe, brothers and sisters. We certainly could use it. Use your participation in the comment section. Anything that you would like to say, so we can get further understanding of what we're trying to teach out. And so we welcome you. And so, brothers and sisters, we have to understand that the most helpful teaching that we can have, and the teaching that can help us, the most helpful teaching, is that of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because he's telling us to do something for ourselves. Now, what can we do in this time? We've had the death of Queen Elizabeth, which should be a good thing for us. Shouldn't be bad. Should be a good thing, because we see there's a hierarchy, right? And there's the dissension of the throne of the monarchs. And you and I don't have to worry. We will see freedom coming faster now than we've ever seen it come before, because God is taking out all the masters of this illusion of superiority. He's taking them out. They've been around a long time, but he's taking them out now. And they have an expiration date. That's what I say about Minister Farrakhan and O'Malley Yeshiteli. They're going to go to, you'll see it, God's going to do it, will no longer be stagnated, brothers and sisters. To try to atone this man, you will never do something that God himself could not do. You'll never atone the white man. The white man is the enemy, is the enemy, is the enemy, is the enemy. If they're guided toward hate, they're your enemy. The system that is in America is guided toward hating the black man, oppressing the black man, killing the black man, degrading the black man, right? Annihilating the black man. That's a system that's against you. That system is not for you. Not for you. So we got to build a system for ourselves. We have to build a system for ourselves. Brothers and sisters, we can certainly do this. In the power of God, we can certainly do it. If we go in the boldness of God, while we're building up these independent cities, independent townships like Nicodemus, certain parts of Atlanta, Georgia, certain parts of Mississippi, certain parts of Alabama, certainly certain parts of Arkansas, certainly certain parts of Detroit, certainly certain parts of New York, Philadelphia, and these Chicago, Missouri, Memphis, Tennessee, and certain other parts of Memphis. When we actualize these powers to do that, you will see, brothers and sisters, that God will begin to open doors, right, and will pour out blessings, right, into where we are that we can't receive. You'll begin to see that. So I'm so thankful today that God created me. I'm so thankful today to be a black man on this planet, and I certainly thank God for the leaders that he sent in the black race, and more importantly than all of that, I definitely thank him for the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because had it not been for these teachings to give us pride and dignity in ourselves and tell us to do for ourselves and to raise ourselves up from a dead level to a live one, had it not been for these teachings, brothers and sisters, where would we be? And I like the song that the elderly people had in the past, when they said, if it had not been for the Lord on my side, tell me where would I be? Isn't that right? If it had not been for the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to tell us to do for ourselves, and the teachings of black nationalism from other black leaders who stood up and fought in civil rights and human rights, tell me where would we be? So we're thankful for the sacrifice of all leaders that have come before us, and certainly the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, so that we'll be able to understand in this time and this date what is required of us as people of God. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thumbs up, brothers and sisters. We certainly appreciate it and can use your participation. We're almost done here, brothers and sisters, today, because we can't speak it all today. We'll have to save some for tomorrow, and there's plenty to save. There's plenty to say, and there's plenty to save. Brothers and sisters, the last thing I want to tell you is that we got to start reading Message to the Black Man. This is I call it the Muhammad's Bible. A message to the black man, what God has given the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to give to us. What God has given him to give to us this day. And we need a teaching, brothers and sisters. We need teaching like we need hospitals in the black community. Because like brothers and sisters are being physically cut, physically shot, physically brought down, we're being spiritually cut, spiritually shot down because we don't have a connection with our spiritual system and a relationship with our past. But thank God for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that with his teaching that we can embrace the teachings of the past and have some understanding. Brothers and sisters, don't forget, we certainly can use your support and can't do it without you. We're trying to sell at least 3 books tonight. 3 books. And we have the link up there. It says support us by buying a book. We have the link up there. We're trying to sell 3 books. And we're also asking you to bless our Cash App with anything that you can. And I'll put my email address down here. So brothers and sisters, when you buy those books, all you have to do, or whatever book you want, if you pay the Cash App, then I'll definitely get that over to you right away. So you will have it. I'll certainly get it over to you right away. Brothers and sisters, this is a blessing to be able to come before you here. And I've heard people say, brother, I respect what you're doing because you come on it like it's a job. And I tell them it is a job, brothers and sisters. This is a job, doing the best we can do and donating our time to build up the black community. But also, I'm able to give free clinical and behavioral health, mental health to people in the community. We're able to feed the community, and we are able to keep doing that with what others do and what you do. But we certainly need to raise it so we can keep food in for our children, the utensils that we need. We need another crock pot. We need hot plates and things of that nature. We try to do it the most inexpensive way that we can to be able to still warm food, keep it cooked, and so we can feed the children in the community, feed brothers and sisters that are coming off drugs, be able to feed them and take care of them because their spirit is willing. Their spirit is willing, but their flesh is weak. So while they're getting the help, while they're waiting with us for us to drive them to Little Rock, to drive them to Memphis, in the different places where all of us are working, to drive them to Marietta, Georgia, to drive them in the north from Clinton to certain parts of DC where they can get this help. While we're in the place where we can do that with your support. So I want you to know that, and we're thankful for it. We're thankful for it. And when it goes to do the very thing that you want it to do. And so all little bit help. We hadn't been able to get much support. We certainly need support, and you'll be surprised that with just a little help, and we serve beans and rice more than anything. Beans and rice, dry foods, non-GMO dry foods that we're able to give to our brothers and sisters. So navy beans, pinto beans, rice, and we take canned goods and all of that. But we certainly still need you to send monies. We're able to get the utensils we need, and also be able to pay for the lights, also be able to pay for the water, be able to pay for the utilities that we have in certain places. And that little bit that you send helps us out so much, brothers and sisters. We can't do it all by ourselves. We won't pretend to. We don't have the funds to do it by ourselves. And the only way we're going to help ourselves is to just help ourselves from our own people. So we have to have a do-for-self mentality, a do-for-self knowledge. Brothers and sisters, I thank you for joining us. And this has come to an end. And we'll certainly see you back tomorrow. We're ready to see you back tomorrow as we'll continue on in our faith. Brothers and sisters, be blessed tonight. Tell someone that you love them. Some black person in your family, some black person in your community that you're at odds with. Seek after peace, brothers and sisters. Give them the show. Let them see the show. And you can tell them that I ask or request that there be peace between all of us. So when you see your brother, you will say, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you. And that if we can speak peace to one another, then we won't be at one another trying to hurt one another for any reason. So brothers and sisters, I appreciate you so much, more than you could ever know. And I ask that you will continue in the knowledge and the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that you will be right and exact in your life and whatever you decide to do. And I pray that God will bless you in everything you decide to do. And I pray that all the fear that's in you will be taken out, and that you will go in boldness and go in the power of God. Brothers and sisters, I thank you very much. And if I didn't say it in the beginning, I say it now. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you, and I love you very much. I say again, Assalamu alaikum.